Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to University Malaya Toastmaster Club. It's not a usual meeting, it's my project. I'm attempting my level 5. Moderating a panel discussion is one of my project from the education pathway in Toastmaster International I taken. I'm taking presentation mastery. And thank you everyone for joining to this panel discussion, the internship program insights from industry leaders and former interns. Before I start, I would like to brief some housekeeping rules. Two panelists, kindly open your camera throughout the meeting. And when the discussion or Q&A session is ongoing, you are feel free to open your mic to join in the discussion too and share your thoughts to us. To fellow audience, kindly mute your mic when you're not speaking. And if you have any questions, so kindly raise out in the chat box and we will take note of it. And this is a disclaimer. The thoughts and the minds of me and all speakers are not representing the views of our working peoples and also the former interns. With that, I would like to introduce let me do some simple briefing about myself. I'm Zhi Jun, Presentation Mastery Level 4, the moderator of the day. I'm the president of University Malaya Toastmaster Club, currently incoming Year 3 Bachelor of Actuarial Science in University Malaya, and also the career intern of Tokyo Marine Life Insurance Malaysia Berhad in the actuarial department, and I'm going to end my internship soon in this Friday. I would also would like to acknowledge and thanks to all panelists who voluntarily to support me in this project. First, our panelist, distinguished Toastmaster Leong Ai-Hwa. She's a member of MISA Toastmaster Club. She's a fellow member of the Malaysia Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administration, MISA, and has more than 30 years of experience in handling the corporate secretarial matters. Ai-Hwa is also involved in the advisory of corporate secretarial requirements, including the corporate restructuring and compliance with various regulatory bodies, such as the Registrar of Companies, Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad, Securities Commission, and other authorities. Besides, she is an approved trainer with 𝐏𝐫𝐸 Corp and does regular training for the Companies Commission Malaysia Training Academy and other professional bodies. And also, she is the co-author of Company Meetings, Minutes and Resolutions in Malaysia, published in year 2021 by the Malaysia Current Law Journal. Our second panelist, Toastmaster Chang Siew Kim, Presentation Mastery Level 2. She is the president of MISA Toastmaster Club. She is the group company secretary of St. Vincent and Librian Berhad, overseeing the group secretarial functions, including the management and administration of the board affairs in compliance with the relevant regulatory requirements and corporate governance framework. Our third panelist, Toastmaster Lim Ming Kang, Presentation Mastery Level 4. He is the alumni of University of Malaya, studying Bachelor of Physics. He is our current member and past president of University Malaya Toastmaster Club. And also, he is the former intern of National Astronomical Research Institute of Thailand, public organization, which at Chiang Mai, Thailand. And our fourth panelist, 𝐏𝐫𝐨𝐬𝐡𝐢𝐩 Teng. He is alumni of University of Malaya, studied Bachelor of Statistics. He is also our past president of University Malaya Toastmaster Club. He is the former intern of Bank Negara Malaysia and former intern of PwC Malaysia. To all panelists and audience, The timing for this project is 40 minutes. With 10 minutes of introduction, 15 to 25 minutes responding to the statements or Q&A, and last 5 minutes for the conclusion. I have been the background. There's a Zoom master and timer. It will show the timing of the project. It will show green wallpaper at 20 minutes, yellow wallpaper at 30 minutes, and red wallpaper at 40 minutes. And this project is considered overtime if exceed 40 minutes and 30 seconds. With that, what is internship? Internship is a temporary position offered by a company or an organization, though the target audience is current university students or diploma students or fresh graduate, to provide practical experience in a particular field of industry. It's usually aimed to students who want to get hands-on experience, develop relevant skills, and build professional networks which help them in their future career. As you know that internship can be paid or unpaid and may last from a few weeks to several months, depending on the company's requirements and the nature of the role. There are some benefits of internship to both interns and also companies. For interns, an intern can gain the job and research experience. And second, a good internship experience, it may build your strong resume, is important when you are finding a job when you are graduate. Third, they can learn more of what they study about. Like for me, I'm for actual science, so I joined an internship. I can know about like what they focus on in the actual science field, like pricing and valuation to and insurance. Help the company to reserve more money and also provide the coverage to our clients. And last, for fresh graduate, is important to join internship as it provides a transition to a permanent job. For companies, internship program can help you all to access to the fresh talent, and it also serves as a recruitment tool. You can see like the interns who are good, and then you may transit them to the permanent after they graduate. And third, interns is also a cost-effective labor because we are paid lower than the permanent staffs. And last is a good brand advocacy, as you can also companies may also promote their self to export to the worldwide or something. Let others know about you when you offer a good internship program. For interns, there's also some ways to find an internship. First is through the social media like the LinkedIn job street table. You just build your resume in these platforms and submit your application to your desired company. And second, you can also send your resume and your cover letter to the company HR email. You can approach it by searching the Google, or perhaps some lecturers, they have the network about the company also. They might provide you about their HR contact. And third, internship fair. You may also bring your resume to the fair and also contact and talking with the people at the fair desk and get their company HR contact. Fourth, if it will be better, it will be more easier if you have a referral. A referral like your seniors or any friends or your father, mother's friends in the company. It can help to recommend you to the HR, and it may speed up the job seeking process as you don't need to wait so long, and then the HR can straight away know you and straight away arrange for an job interview. And last, there are some costs provided the special internship program. Usually the lecturer, they will introduce you. For engineering, they have their special internship program about 10 weeks. And for actuarial science, for my course, there's a internship program called LIAM internship program. It's for those students who wish to intern in the insurance company. You may apply the LIAM internship program, but it's only for the final year students. After you send your resume details, you can wait for 1 to 4 weeks for the HR to contact you. If for the big companies, it might take 2 months or even longer time for the HR to contact you, as there's many applicants for the big companies. And last, just keep sending your resume to the company. Don't afraid like, is it you are qualified for the position? If you want, then you just send the resume until you receive your internship offer. Internship program with the perspective of interns, we may face some difficulties or challenges during our internship. This is the news from Sinchu newspaper. This is a news. I think for University Malaya students, we are familiar with this news because it's happened in our UD. One of our students, Lara Shifa, she expressed her frustration in social media platforms regarding her low paid or unpaid internship. In her post, she pointed out that the government minimum wage policy of 1.5k ringgit does not include interns. And she said that interns are not protected by the labor law and they face the risk of being exploited by companies. I agree with that because like the current interns in Malaysia, majority we can see is around, the majority is 1k, is which lower than the permanent, or can even lower like around 500 or 800, and even though also can be unpaid. I would like to ask Min Kang, is it reasonable for the interns to receive a low salary or even no salary?
Thank you. My opinion is, if you're intern for non-profit organization or non-funded organization, yes, reasonable. If you work for money-making companies or funded organization, not reasonable. Although I would like to point out that lower salary than the employee salary is reasonable because we are not going with a profession, they are. So my point is that if your work or the company you're working for, you are helping them to make them profitable, then you should get paid. Just enough pay to cover your accommodation, transportation, and food. Nothing extra, as we come here to learn. So that's my point. Thank you.
I see. How about Sukin, do you agree about, is it reasonable for interns to get low or unpaid? Sorry, Sukin, you are muted.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Zhi Jun. Basically, what I've come across for intern, it can come to minimum 500, few hundred ringgit, and those lucky one will get above about 1,000 plus. It all depends on what type of company you apply for. For a big company, right? Or for hotel, I even come across a big hotel, a big brand name. They only offer 500, but they will offer all the free meal lah. But for those the industry, big company like waste management company, like the pharmaceutical, where my friend working for, they will offer around 1,000. Again, that I have not come across an intern didn't get paid at all. When you interview, if intern doesn't comfortable with the pay, you can always negotiate. It's not necessary. You can maybe find a few jobs to compare. And for me, interns should get paid lah, just to sustain and to pay for their all the expenses, and they need to survive too. This is my view. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Sukim. This is my example from my friend. She is serving as an intern at the National Health of Malaysia. It's a government institute, but she not get paid. This okay, but she have to pay to the National Health of Institute about 500 per month. She come to learn, and then she have to pay to the institute, and she have to do the intern at the other state. She have to find the accommodation and to settle her transport, and also even though her food and then her those expenses, is it reasonable for the government institute to do so?
May I ask, is it a norm that this type of intern, they need to pay, as it now they are not under intern, they are like attending another course? Because so far I did not encounter any intern didn't get paid. I'm just wondering whether they pay for a course to attend for a few months course. I'm not sure is it a norm, or is it is a practice out there? So far I did not encounter that an intern didn't get paid lah. Usually they will get paid minimum a few hundred and above 1,000 plus.
Yeah,
Mm.
I agree with your point. And also see the chat box, like someone said that it's a norm for the government. If you want to intern at a government institute, like get not only not paid, unpaid, you have also paid to the institute also, something like that. So because they were thought like if you are go just to learn, not to
But
help them to serve or taking the risk of the institute, something like that. You just come to learn. So it's more like the paying the fees to learn, something like that. A question to Kenting. You are working at the Bank Negara Malaysia. So have you get paid for the internship?
Yeah, thanks, Zhi Jun, for the question. Yeah, I actually get paid. My salary is stated on the website. You can actually Google it. It's 1,350. I'm not sure why
Wow.
it's in that number, but it's 1,350. Yeah, that's my the salary the bank paid me for 1 month of internship. Yeah.
Oh, I see. That's a quite high salary because
Yes,
like
it is quite high.
yeah.
I think it is quite good. I mean, compared to a lot of my friends, some they get like 1,000, at most 1,000. I think 1,350 is really a lot. If you want to find internship that give you that much, it's quite hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I see the website is like the average, I can't see salary lah. I see the allowance for interns is around 1.5K Malaysian ringgit. So I think like 1.35 is also quite high.
Yeah, it's quite near to
Yeah.
the minimum.
Yeah. Meantime, have you get paid during your internship?
I get paid in another way. I don't get a single cent from the institute, but my accommodation, transportation, and food, they are all claimable. So yeah.
Oh, so conclusion is as long as the allowance can cover the interns' daily expenses, then it's reasonable because like interns not getting interns just to come to learn, and the risk they taken is lesser than the permanent staff. It concludes like that. Another scenario of interns. This come from a Reddit user wrote about working as a human resource intern in a firm of Singapore. He's shocked to find out that interns handle everything in the human resources except the interviews. In addition to the workload, the user also recalled having to constantly work overtime, amounting to 12 hours in a day. And in the final month of internship, there was no salary payment until 3 to 4 months later. Another Reddit user, he said that while working as the media and marketing intern, he was apparently not allowed to work from home days even when having a high fever of 39 to 40 degrees Celsius. He said, I was given many tasks, in fact, more tasks than most interns to complete. I did things normally done by full-timers or even whole departments. And so, no matter how sick I was, I never got any work from home request approved, even though I'm sick. So, have you experienced any things like exploratory during your internship?
Yeah, thanks, Zhi Jun, for the question. I think I do not I do not feel being exploited by the company based on my 2 past internship experience. But again, I think internship exploitation is an issue that is being raised by the people in the country, and it's an issue of concern. I think there could be effort, could be done, could be implemented so that we can ensure that the welfare of interns are taken care of. Like, for example, just now we talked about the issues of minimum wages. So should there be a minimum wages set by the government so that all companies obey by it, so that the interns can have a sufficient fund to pay for their accommodation, food, or transport? If you just think about interns, that some people, let's say your university is in Kedah, let's say UM, and then you want to find internship in KL, so you have to rent a house in KL, so there are additional expenses involved. So I think setting a minimum wage has a rationale behind it. But I would like to add on something different today, not just about the minimum wage, but maybe we could also take a look at things like, for example, insurance. Insurance from the Social Security Organization, or SOCSO. So because most internship, they are contract workers, they do not entitle for any EPF, any SOCSO. They just get a minimum wage, that's all. But again, SOCSO costs like a few ringgit, like 10 ringgit, something like that. I'm not quite sure, but if you could correct me on that, per month for internship. This kind of insurance protection is important. Like, for example, imagine you are an intern, you work in a on-site, let's say a construction site, or you work in industry, heavy metal industry. What if, unfortunately, an accident happened to you, and then you have no insurance to take let's say, to protect you? So this can be an issue for interns, especially engineering students, mechanicals, electricals, or civil engineers. So I think if we could work on the minimum wage issues, perhaps we could also consider things like insurance from the SOCSO, involve it in the internship package to protect students if they are working in a dangerous site, dangerous area, so that if anything happens to them, they have insurance there at the last resort, because some people might not have insurance. Yeah, that's my response. Thank you.
Oh, I see. It's new to me to know about like interns can be covered by an insurance. It's my first time to heard about that. And so you can think, if I am an intern, like my boss call me to stay, my working time is at 5:30 p.m. and then my boss also call me to stay, and then because my intern is like they did not pay about the OT fee, something like that. So how should I do
I think for interns,
Yes,
normally I think I don't really care much about that because, like 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐵 said just now, we are there to learn, to develop ourselves, to gain skills, right? To gain practical experience. So since we are just working there for, let's say, maybe a few weeks or a few months, maybe that shouldn't be a big issues for me. But if it happens a lot of time and then you feel that you're a bit overwhelmed and there's too much work, you can't handle it, maybe it's time for you to maybe talk with your boss to see if they can manage it in the other way. Yeah, that's probably my suggestion how we would handle this kind of situation.
Thanks, Kente, for your sharing. For what is there any way to ensure like the interns not being exploited?
Definitely. I mean, in Malaysia itself is have signed up with the Human Rights Convention itself. So in terms of whether it is voluntary labor or as in internship or involuntary labor itself, for those illegal workers itself, everybody has to be treated fair. One comment I like to pick up from where 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐵𝐿 mentioned that if you are serving as an intern in a NGO, it's reasonable that, because NGO don't make profits, therefore you don't get paid. I just like to tell all of you that NGOs don't work that way. It's true, NGOs don't make profit, but NGO works on project basis, and they always have a sponsor or a donor for that particular project, and that's where they want to bring you in as an intern to help out in that project as well. So the costs, your costs are already included in that project. So I would actually encourage you, if you're going to join an NGO, to at least ask for some form of payment or reimbursement, like in the case of 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐵𝐿, where he was not paid salary, but he was paid, in terms of food, lodging, and traveling, and all those kind of things. So that's one of the things. Now, myself being an employer, when it comes to employing someone, whether it's for short term, like in the case of intern, and also for a long term, I think as a Malaysian, we should keep to the Malaysian law in relation to minimum wages. I take in a lot of Thai college students, and one of the reasons why some of you complain that, we get very low salary, a few $100 or $1,000. Kenting gets 1,350. That's because I think Bangara keeps to the minimum wage of 1,500, and they'll probably deduct your, EPF and all those kind of things to come to your take-home pay of 1,350. So, me personally, even when Thai College offer their students for internship, and they tell us that we as employer for those interns are to pay no more than 1,000. It's stated when they write to us to take on their interns. Now, I turn around and said, look, we can't be treating the interns like, cheap labor. We should actually be paying them the minimum wage of 1,500. And that's what I pay to my interns itself. Whether it is for a 2-month stint or 3-month stint, it's 1,500. And I think the 1,500 is fair, looking at the cost of living, especially in KL itself, and even in the bigger cities. I'm sure most of you want to have internship in the bigger cities, correct? So on that note, it should be 1,005. I mean, if you're going to ask your employer for 1,005 as minimum wage, I don't think they will squabble about it, right? The other thing in terms of how we can ensure the interns are not being exploited is, of course, the interns have actually got a right to ask the employers as to what sort of scope of work is given to them and what sort of timing, especially like you mentioned, Zhi Jun, about extra time, overtime. Then I think as an intern, you have a right to ask if you are going to be paid overtime. The employers paid their own employees overtime. I mean, those below the 4,000. And I think it's really your right as an intern to ask if there's overtime pay. If there's no overtime pay, and of course, I would then leave it to you as an intern, whether you take that as additional trading for yourself, because I always find that when you work overtime, you get to know the people better because you don't have the busyness of the office hours itself when you work overtime. So as you get to know people better within that organization itself, you also get to know whether that is the career path for you, whether those kind of organizations fit you or not. Now, I like the fact that 𝐿𝐴𝐺 raised this thing about SOCSO. I will kudos that. And 𝐿𝐴𝐺, if any member of parliament comes to me, I'm going to mention that you would push for this because who takes care of the interns? They don't get medical benefits and all those things. Of course, in my organization, if you get a flu and all those things, you need to take the day off, I let you off. But as we can see in this slide, that there are big organizations that don't treat the interns as human beings. So I personally think that, that the interns must put a stop to it. They must raise it up to the employers, and they must raise it back to the universities to tell them, this company that you're sending us to and our future graduates who are going to go there is going to be treated the same way. Is that what the university wants? I think you have to ask those kind of questions. And I totally agree with 𝐿𝐴𝐺 because even Grab drivers who are not full-time employees, the government is already looking into giving them the SOCSO benefits itself. I mean, what happens when there's an accident and you no longer, touch wood, you don't want it, but we can't say. So I totally agree with what 𝐿𝐴𝐺 has mentioned. So to me, as interns, you have a right to voice your grievances itself, particularly if it's not fair on you, right? Thank you very much, Zhi Jun, for having me share this part of it. Back to you.
Thank you, Oliver, for sharing some wonderful thoughts about how the perspective about how interns are not being exploited or how interns should face about their internship. So for interns, as we say many times, we are learning. So it's okay and it's acceptable if over time, slightly. But if this happens every time or very serious, like over time until like midnight, those have to raise it to your supervisor. Or if that day you are busy, you have to raise it out to your supervisor before, as you said, at that time you are busy something. So to conclude that, the interns can be not being exploit but enforce some laws about the allowance of the interns and also the insurance coverage to provide, especially to the engineer students who might expose to the dangers when they are doing work. And also I agree about, or I must say about this allowance of the interns also depends on which the intern work in which sector. If like for NGO, they might not getting paid or something, so they might be low a bit. And if for researchers, it also might be low if you are working in the research institute, because like they are not earning much profit compared to like the government sectors on that. Second, the internship program in the perspective of the employers or supervisor or the companies, and also the mentors who got bring the interns before. This is a scenario. The news, I also get it from Xinxiu. A student preparing to start her second year of studies complained about she was fired on her first day of internship. Why? Because she's unfamiliar with the Adobe software. To Soo Kim, what is your expectation to interns?
Yeah, thanks for the question. For me, the intern is just a newborn baby to an organization. Always that when an intern join the company, my suggestion is to them is to understand the culture of the company. Different company do have different culture. Like my company is a combination of few races, and it's very particular when we see someone senior than us, like my managing director, like my chairman, we have to greet them and say good morning, good afternoon. Even this sound petty, but for both of them, is gesture. It shows that how a person is built on, how his background is. For me, besides understanding the culture of the company, the intern have to be a responsible person. If assign some job to them, they need to complete on time. If they can't, they need to come back to the supervisor seeking for advice, seeking for extension of time. More importantly, that an intern need to report on time. When the office hours stay at 8:30, and for a particular morning, if the intern has been assigned some job, for instance, my one is company secretary. The intern has been assigned, come, today we have board meeting, be punctual. If the intern only comes in at 9 and the board meeting start, nothing has been said. This will be a disaster for everybody, the board member, the team, and create unnecessary tension. And very one important point is the person need to report on time and need to be, the attendance must be perfect. Do not like one morning, I need to call you on phone, I cannot find you, cannot be contactable. This is something very bad lah. So this is basically my expectation on the intern. We can work as a team, and if the intern perform well, it's good for everybody. So that is my view. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Soo Kim. How about this the scenario when I start my intern? When I first day step to the office, my supervisor asked me, have you learned about actual mathematics? I said no, next sem. And then she asked me, okay, I see. Then have you learned about life contingency? And then I say also no, I will learn it on next semester, which is year 3. Currently, I end my year 2, and I almost start my year 3 in October. So the supervisor will be like, Okay, so she have to. So when I first access to the documents, I even don't know what am I doing about. So if that case, is it okay if I ask my supervisor some stupid question? Perhaps for her it's stupid, but for me is I have to know about what am I doing. Is it okay to ask supervisor those, even though the terms are?
Well, it's always that different intern will be assigned different job lah. Maybe some will be assigned to the job that relevant to them. If the intern has been assigned job not relevant to them, just take it positively. Everything you learn in an organization is just a started. So when you learn something on, you will facilitate when in your study and maybe in your future job opportunity. It's absolutely okay.
I see. Thank you, Sophie, for sharing. What is your expectation to the interns from your view?
Okay, my expectation is quite similar to what 𝐬𝐭𝐞𝐫𝐬𝐬 have shared. We expect the intern, all right, to, yes, arrive on time. And also, if you're unable to complete an assignment that's given to you, you should tell us what your problem is, but not wait until the end of the day itself. All right. There and then, and Zhi Jun, you mentioned that you were asked certain questions and you were not sure what it is. And it may look like a stupid question to ask your supervisor about it. Now, let me tell you this. On your supervisor side, if I'm your supervisor and you came to me and tell me that I'm going to ask you a stupid question, but I have to ask you so that I know what I'm going to do next, your supervisor will appreciate the truthfulness in you. So not to worry about it, all right? So that's what we expect from the intern, to tell us that they don't know. Now, one of the things that I would like to highlight when you submit your CV to be part of an internship program for an organization itself, please make sure that you state in your CV exactly what are the courses that you have already undertaken and what sort of software you are familiar with. In this slide that you're showing me, that this student said that she was fired on the first day because she was not familiar with the Adobe software. Now, first question is, are you familiar with the organization that you're going to join? Do they require using this software? And did you put it into your CV, your curriculum vitae, as to what sort of additional skills that you are familiar with? And I get this a lot, all right? I get CVs that come to me and say that, oh, they are familiar with using, Microsoft Office. Now, I get very skeptical when they say Microsoft Office, because Microsoft Office includes Word, it includes your Excel spreadsheet and all those. But a lot of people don't know, okay? They think that Microsoft is just to switch on Outlook, just key in, send the email, type in some words, open the file, close the file. No, it's more than that. So don't say you're familiar. Tell your potential employer that you are familiar with the basic requirements of Microsoft or the basic requirements of the Adobe software itself. Be truthful. That's what we expect from the interns. If you don't know what we are talking about when we give you instructions, just tell us. Because sometimes we, as employee side or even as supervisor side, we treat you like somebody, who already knows that thing and will just throw it to you. So if you're not familiar, come back. All right? Once you come back, then we will give instructions in a more structured way. in a way that you get to learn, and we, at the same time, the supervisors and the employers get to make sure that there is work delivered on time, like what Suki mentioned. That's what I have to share.
Thanks, Iowa, for sharing. So, what the expectation to interns from the perspective of Silkim and Iowa, they expect interns to be punctual and do things on time, time allocation, which means have a good time allocation towards arranging your tasks, and also be responsible, and also be active, like motivation to your internship program. And so the most important is there to ask about when you are there to ask your supervisor. But before asking, also it can be done before when you submit your CV, is you have to state your qualification and the course you've taken, and also some soft skills you know. And if you are not familiar with that, you don't say you're very familiar. You just say you know about this thing. Like for Excel, because like when you step into the company, you thought you know about Excel, but when you start it, you hands on the Excel, you just know that, oh, there's still much more you have to learn it.
Agree.
So for Iowa, what kind of job and tasks should the supervisor provide to interns?
Okay, the jobs and tasks given to the interns are still very much what the supervisor would expect one of the assistant to be handling itself. So it's no more, it's not as if you do photostating all the time, because in our field, there's a lot of documents that needs to be photostated. I have heard of interns complain in other organizations that all they did for the whole month was just photocopy and make certified true copies, chop, 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 and pass it to the supervisor to sign. No, I think in terms of supervisors, in my own organization, the supervisors actually give a job, and the jobs assigned are actually explained to the interns, just like how we would explain to a newcomer, a new employee to the company itself. So we treat our interns just like a new employee. Things are explained, and we will then set the timeline or the work to turn around. And if the intern is not able to turn it around within the time expected, they have to tell us much earlier so that we can see exactly what could be the challenge that they are facing, and then assist them from there. So the jobs may be, I would say, a mix of administrative job. Interns would not be expected to do a lot of consultancy work at that stage itself. So it's more compilation of information and also more administrative matters. That's how my organization would do it in relation to the new interns. Yeah. Over to you, Zhi Jun.
So also depends on the qualification the interns have.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Iowa, for sharing. So another perspective, the role of university toward their internship program. People are sharing that they have to pay the tuition fees during their internship. I'm also curious about it. Like, we are not attending classes, so why should we pay to university? For Ming Tang,
Yes.
I have a question. Is like, why does industrial training exist in some course? I would like to say in some course, because like that's not all courses who having compulsory internship. Like for example, like the linguistic, they don't have the internship program. And also some private university, they don't even offer any internship program to all course.
Okay, I will give 3 reasons from my opinion. The first reason is the industrial training gives a chance for students to examine the expectation gap between their academic learning in university and also the real world practice. So very beneficial for students. The second goes to the company. The internship program is actually a very good opportunity for a company to identify their future employees, good employees. And finally, for the university, it also is beneficial because it serves as an opportunity for university to assess their teaching outcome from the result of a student from internship program. So I think that's a very good factor to have an internship continue.
So do you feel like shouldn't pay fees when they are doing internship industrial training because we are not using the facility of the school? It's a bit weird if we to pay when we are doing serve as a worker at outside.
I totally agree with you. We shouldn't pay for tuition fee. But from my experience, I did not pay for my internship period during special semester to the university. So at least in my course, I don't have to pay for the semester. But I agree with you, yes. Tuition fee is to pay for the facility, to pay for the teaching and learning from the lecturer, and also the syllabus the university provides. If you don't do that, if you're even not physically in a university, you shouldn't pay for the university. Thanks.
Then last question to you is how should university do well in their responsibility in helping the students to complete their internship?
Okay, my opinion is university do not need to help students to complete an internship. My reason is internship opportunity is a chance for students to deal with the company, to work with and for a company. And during the process, a university shouldn't interrupt, shouldn't disturb, and should let the student be independent for that. Now, I do hope that a university would be responsible in preparing a student for internship. For example, give a list of possible companies to apply in respective fields and to provide a counseling service to future intern students about what kind of job they can offer. But once a student steps into the intern period, universities should just let go and observe. I think that's the point. Yeah, thanks.
So from your view, it's university help them to be prepared to start in the career, so let them to be independent to face the challenges in their future career.
Yes, yes.
How about the view from Genting? Should students pay fees? To the second question.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Zhi Jun, for the question. I actually can't remember whether I still pay for my special semester industrial training course. And right now, I assume I do pay for it. But in my opinion, I think it is completely fine to pay for the internship if the university requires. So here's my explanation. Basically, is this because labor is involved, because industrial training course, it is a course. And when it is a course, there's a framework, that evaluation framework, what they're going to teach, what they're going to teach you, the learning objective. So these things are involved, and they are being set by the school administrative staff, and also the lecturers. Lecturers are also appointed to monitor you. Let's say to give you a briefing, how should you do the report guidelines, and then give you some advice and also consultancy of which company that you're going to apply to, so on and so forth. So these are, I can say, let's say labors. Labors are involved. So it is fine to pay for industrial training course because it is a course. But again, we might argue that it is a course, but it is different from a normal course. We don't attend classes like normal courses. We only meet the lecturers during the briefing, and then at the end of the internship, maybe during the submission period. And then the lecturers, they're all at the background doing the tasks. So maybe we can argue that we can how much we pay and becomes the question rather than should we pay or not. So maybe we can argue like that, and because it's different from a normal course, so maybe we shouldn't pay the same amount as the normal courses. So maybe pay slightly less. Again, I just checked the chat that we don't pay tuition fee during industrial training course. So luckily in UNISIM Malaya, it's free for you to perform the industrial training course. Good for that. Maybe there's a budget set by the university. They receive the budget or sponsor from maybe the government to sponsor the staff when they have to spend their time to monitor us and help us do the industrial training course. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kente, for your sharing. So yeah, I was so surprised that I also don't know about this because I haven't reached my final year. It's about like is free. We don't need to pay during our compulsory industrial training.
Sorry, I would like to clarify that.
Yeah.
It happens to me. So
Oh.
might not be the same for different courses. At least my course doesn't require that. So not generally.
So from this, like one is about students should not pay fee, and one is about students should pay fee because we also like using some facility. For example, like our advisor during the internship also considered if we happen anything during the internship also, they might need to help us in it. So we also have like should pay, but pay lesser than the normal cost. Don't pay so high. It's good for our university. Did not need to pay for when we are doing our compulsory internship. So to conclude that the role of university, they help the students to prepare themselves when they are graduate and step into their career. They need to ensure that the students are independent and they know what they should do when they're entering their career. And we should pay less or did not pay fees when they are doing their compulsory industrial training. Perhaps need to pay lesser than normal. And last, some additional question. To audience, you may leave your question to us in the chat box and we will answer it during this time. To Siew Kim, so additional question is, do you like to advise interns like they should choose big company or small company when they are choosing their internship?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Zhi Jun. It all depends. For a big company, we already have a fee structure, and even our intern is joining. Actually, we do some background work. Like we already assign a mentor-mentee to the intern, and even we assign which department they are going to go around. And for an intern, my advice to them is try to seize the opportunity to learn more, even the soft skill, how to handle people. And if you have opportunity, just accept a ad hoc project so that you can appear in front of staff. Who knows, one day the company will contact you to offer you a permanent job. Of course, this is more advantageous if you will choose a big company because the pay usually is higher. I wouldn't say a smaller company offer a smaller scale because smaller company, maybe some of them is run by owner. So it's all depend on negotiation. How much is the nego power when you meet the owner? But as compared big company, the fee scale already been fixed. So my advice to them personally, I will advise you, if there is opportunity, apply for big company. That's for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Yukin, for the sharing. How about Kante? Do you feel like it's better to choose a big or small company?
Yeah, for me, I think it would depends on our own goals and preferences. For me personally, I think I'll go for medium or large company because mainly for medium or large company, their internship might be more structured and there are more resources allocated to it. Like just now Zhi Jun said. And of course, a small company, we can also consider small company. Like for example, you heard online that small companies give you like the startup culture. So you're going to work with a variety of tasks, gain a lot of experience. So I think at the end of the day, it depends on you whether what are your needs? Do you want to try on more things? Do something a little bit different? Maybe you have an experience in a large company. You want to see how working in a small company looks like. Yeah, you can go for it. So it all depends on your own personal preference. Thank you.
Thanks, Kante, for sharing. It has both their goods about big company and small company. But if big company, it may broaden your view about how a sector or how industry looks like. But its workload may be repetitive. For small company, it's good that you can get in touch about different kinds of stuff. So you might learn more compared to the big company, but it depends on different sectors and different companies too. And second question, I would like to ask Min-Kang about do you have any advice to interns? What's the future interns?
Future interns. Okay. I'll give 4 to 5 advices. First, if you are financially capable, don't be afraid to apply for unpaid internships. While on the other side, they're trying to make the minimum wage up from our side. If you're financially capable, you can go for unpaid. Second, sometimes, again, refer to the first one, we choose either earn or learn. Sometimes you don't get both. And be reminded that you are going to learn. You are not the employee because of your profession. So go with a learning mind, not a working mind. And one more, the other one is, please don't ignore feedback or comments, reflection along your journey, after your journey. And finally, don't be afraid to ask questions to your supervisor. I have a tip of asking questions. Don't just ask questions, that's it. You ask questions, at the same time, offer your own thoughts. For example, supervisor, I'm not sure about this. I think it might work like this. What do you think? So at the same time, that tells that you have some opinions. At the same time, you don't sound that, as Zhi Jun phrase, stupid. That's my advice. Thanks.
Thanks, Min-Kang, for sharing. For Oiwa, do you have any advice to those who want to do intern or upcoming intern?
Right. I think I shared earlier that as interns, be outright, be truthful if you're not able to complete a task during that internship itself. That's one of the very important things. The second thing is that I think being an intern, you are new to the environment, all right, that is before you. And because you are new to the environment, it really depends on you individually. If you are an introvert and this is a new environment, you're probably going to keep very quiet at the corner, not mixing around, and that's going to be very difficult for your potential employer to see what you have. All right. So if you're those introvert types, my suggestion would actually be taking from your first question is join a smaller company, right? But if you're an extrovert itself, by all means, join the bigger companies because you're going to meet a lot of people and they will actually be able to share their experience with you, and then you make the decision as to whether you want those kind of careers or not. One of the things that I ask my new joinees is that when they come in, I ask the first question, where do you see yourself in 3 to 4 years' time? Do you want to take the supervisor or manager position in 3 to 4 years? Because that's what we expect our employees to do. All right. So the same thing with interns itself. We ask the question, what do you want to get out from this internship? So I think as an intern, you can share what you want out from that internship itself. It's not just to clock in the hours, to complete your training programs and all those things. I think it's more than that, because the internship is that next step that you have to take before you go into the real world. That world itself is where you're going to make a living. And this is the place where you're going to spend more hours of the day than with your cat or with your parents, or with your friends, because that place is going to be with you for your next, 20 to 30 years before you actually make your next move. All right. When I first came out to work, I didn't like working life. And I said, okay, I'm going to make enough money and retire at 35. But after 35, didn't make enough money, of course. But I realized that I moved on into other things, because I then learned that it's not so much the career path that you have, it's also other environments coming on that shapes you into another person as you grow older itself. So my take to interns would be really, set your goals for that, even for that very short time. Set your goals and relate those goals to your employer itself. That's how I would take it from there. Thank you very much, Zhi Jun, for asking that question. Back to you.
Thank you, 𝐸𝐬. So combining the expectation to interns with our previous Q&A and with the sharing of Min Kang and 𝐸𝐬, I would like to conclude advice to interns is be brave to ask questions, be responsible to your tasks. And if we are not facing any financial difficulties, not very difficult, don't be afraid to apply about the internship, which is unpaid, because you are just taking this opportunity to learn and get exposure about what your course, what you are doing in future if you study in this course. And also, To future interns are advised to set your expectation or set your goal when you start your internship, so that you can know that is it the internship or is it the career or is it the task you are doing now meets your expectation. And you can also take the opportunity to find it out. Do you like this job? If you don't like, you still have the time. Now you're just an intern, not a permanent. So just take this opportunity to explore what you like about. In conclusion, to summarize the discussion just now, internship is the program offered by a company or organization to the students, university students, and fresh graduate to do some few weeks or few months contract job to let them explore about their work, which is their learning now. To interns, it's reasonable to be low paid or unpaid because like you're just learning. You're not helping the company to taking many risks about handling the risks. But interns should be paid with the reasonable allowance, which enough to cover his or her daily expenses, such as accommodation or transportation or food. Also, there are some ways to prevent the interns from being exploited. First is like enforce the laws. Like, for example, enforce the laws about the allowance, which minimum allowance should the sector pay to interns. And second, some insurance coverage to interns who might expose to the danger job. For interns, just to raise out the question to supervisor if you feel like you are being exploited. From the expectation of the companies or supervisors, their expectation to interns, which is be responsible, just do your task on time, have a good time allocation, and be proactive. And also be brave to ask question rather than, because like supervisor might be happy if you raise a question rather than you didn't tell a problem, then at last you do something wrong. Before you apply for your internship, when you are filling up your resume or your CV, state clearly your qualification and also the course you've taken to prevent the things happen like so that the supervisor, the HR know that what you have learned and what you haven't learned, to let them know more about you. To the role of and also what kind of tasks should the supervisor give to interns? It also based on their qualification. If they know more, they can just be okay to passing some challenging jobs. And last, the role of university throughout the internship program. Why university? Some university, they help the industry training is compulsory to students. They want the students be independent and be prepared when they are graduate and step into their career. And interns should pay some reasonable fees to the university when they are doing their compulsory internship. It's glad that our school that no need to pay, but if you have to pay, it must be like lower than the usual cost, usual semester, lower than the usual semester. And some conclusion, interns, you should grab this opportunity to discover your future career pathway, because the internship is the only time, is the last and also the final time for you to explore about which job you want to do, or is this is this job meet your expectation? Because after you graduate, you become a permanent staff. You don't have you don't have the chance, like not free like interns, like you can try on about like what you want to do. Because you have the responsibility to increase the company's profit or something. And also, would like to stress out about interns. Be brave to ask, and be brave to raise out your question when you are facing difficulties or when you feel like you're being exploited. So because HR or your supervisor, they don't know about you. They might assume you like you know about this task or you are okay with this. So if you are not okay, you have a difficulty, be brave to ask. Be brave to tell them your question rather than you make a mistake after the task done. With that, thank you everyone for joining this panel discussion about the internship program.